Hello and welcome back to another PAX East 2022 show floor interview. This is Heather. This is Rusted Moss. I was bad at it. Do like a footage not found because we didn't record that part. So tell us, what is this game?
So Rusted Moss is a Metroidvania where there is no double jump. So when you play a lot of Metroidvanias and other platformers, normally when you see another platform that's too high to go, you kind of expect, okay, I'm going to get a double jump later, and you immediately know how to get to a higher platform. Our game is a bit more of a puzzle in some ways because we use a physics-based grappling hook to get around instead. So we take a grappling hook and we replace the rope with a rubber band. So instead of having to double jump, what you could do is have more options available to you, such as bungee jumping, like jumping from a high path, falling down and throwing the hook out and letting the rubber band to kind of swing you back up. So the idea is that it kind of becomes similar to rock climbing, where you start recognizing patterns in our terrain on how to use a grappling hook to the best of how it works. And because it's physics-based, you can actually get good enough to break the game with it. And
yeah, the game broke me. That's what ended up happening.
There's a pretty high learning curve for it. It's a challenge.
Yeah. I'm not used to that mousy aiming precision.
Yeah,
it sounds it's more precise. But I've never failed more in a game in 5 minutes than I have at this just now. I see you're dressed as the main character.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that's all about? Who are we playing as in Rusted Moss?
All right, yeah.
There's some story here that I'm seeing.
There is. If you want to play the full hour-long plus demo that's available on Steam, where it kind of goes into more in depth of the story and the lore. But the idea is that the Fae have come back into the world like fairies because men and the iron machines that were keeping them at bay have started resting. And Fern is a changeling, and she's kind of there to help bring the fairies back into the world as mankind's trying to cling on to their last remaining power in the world.
It's some spooky ass looking fairy still. It's what is that thing? It was like one eyeball looking thing and his little tiny wings.
Fairies are scary. I think before Disney and all that, it's the old fairy tales are all about kidnapping children and making so basically the fairy tales exist because you want to scare children to behaving basically.
Right.
It's if you don't do this, the fairies are going to steal you away and stuff like that. So we're kind of using old English and Nordic folklore. Our artists and programmers from
Parenting 101.
Yeah, basically. It's great parenting.
So you mentioned going against what a Metroidvania is, taking double jumps out. What else are you going to change up the classic formula of a Metroidvania?
The shooting. So a lot of Metroidvanias have guns. They normally have 8 directions to shoot from. Ours is a free aim game, like a twin stick. So that's why that's why we recommend using a mouse. You'll be able to aim very precisely when flying through the air. The grapple hook, being able to do a lot of quick flick shots that feel kind of a traditional shooter in some ways, even though it's a side scroller.
Also, do you hate me because I was fighting this first boss thing and it had already a second meter. I'm used to that much later in a game like this. So you're just fuck it. We're gonna give them hard fights out the gate.
It's a steep learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
We just hope that when people are able to try and we want to try and get some kind of feeling of reward from the mastery of quite a difficult mechanic to get used to. But once you master that mechanic, you can speed run through the game. You can break levels because it's physics based. Even we don't really have plans for what exactly sequence breaks you can do to get to areas you're not supposed to get to yet, just because we have a really flexible grappling hook.
Yeah, this is a speedrunner's dream, by the way. So when's it coming out? Why can we play it? What's the roadmap for this thing?
The game will be done this year, so we're going to be either releasing Q4 of this year, or we might delay it a little bit to Q1 just to get some of the final stuff ironed out.
All right, well, that's Rusted Moss, demo on Steam. Almost everything here, I feel, at PAX East. Download it, play it, wishlist it. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Yeah.